Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Living Astrology with Janet. It's time to grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back and relax while we chat about what is happening up in the stars above for this week, which is the second week or the first full week, I'm guessing, of April. And my timeline is so off right now. Last week, as I was gone to my sister's house, Asa was putting out stuff for me, and I'm like, "Wait, didn't that happen already?" she, she was like, "No, it's happening this week." And I went, "Oh my God, my month right now is so off." I came back home from my sister's yesterday, and my calendar was still on March. Everything that I had done up until that point, I'd actually done ahead of time the whole month of April. So, which was a good thing, but I do not know why I did it, except now, obviously, it's clear because I was going to be gone for a significant amount of time. And it was nice to have that part done. And as you know, I was called late Saturday evening by my brother-in-law, who said that my sister was not doing well, and he thought it was near the end. But I've heard this story before, right? I'd heard that story many times. Put away everything that I was working on to drive the 3 hours or so across the mountains and be there with him, only to find out that she was, you know, not her self that she was a few years ago, but certainly not near death. And I half expected that. So Sunday, when he called Saturday night, we were like, okay, we'll leave first thing in the morning. And we did. And when I got there, I was shocked because she was in transition at that point in time. I think Terry and I got there at about 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that. And she was unconscious. There was nothing there of my sister except her body. And, we sat with her and talked to her and talked with one another. And it was the first time that Richard had actually um, had the right truth, right? That she was actually in process. And about I don't know what time it was, 5:30, Terry and I went and got dinner for us all and brought it back to the house. And I had just sat down to eat and I heard wailing, just wailing in the other room, and I jumped up and ran down the hall looking at my watch as I'm running because I wanted to know if this was her passing. What time was it? It was 5:55 on March 30th. And I walked in the room just in time. I saw her last breath. There's something, for as sad as death is, there's something magical about it as well. As a person transitions from life to death, there's this a sense of peace or something that just comes over their face, just it's just peace. And of course you're sad and, crying and upset that we're losing this person. But we are also so glad that this person, my sister, was now out of pain and was past the point of having to deal with a body that wasn't working the way that she had wanted it to work. But the peace, that was what kept getting me, was this peace. And it was beautiful, it was sad, but it happened, and I was there to witness it, and as was my brother. He actually was holding her in his arms as she passed away, which is exactly what she would have wanted and is exactly what happened. And what I heard was him crying as he knew this was, she was taking her final breaths. And, yeah, so it was shock ahead of the week of shock for me. Because again, we knew this would come, but it was just kind of shocking that it had come. And then just a couple of days later, my brother-in-law, who's just lost his wife, is diagnosed with bone cancer. And we were again just struck dumb by, you know, way things you know, unfurl, I guess, in life. It was, um, it was kind of crazy. And his doctor's optimistic that he can do some therapies that will lengthen his life. But it was, how many hits can you take in one family in, 1 week? It was just a lot. But now her funeral is set for this Saturday. So I may or may not be on Friday. It depends on what time we're all heading out to go to the east. And but I'll cover most everything today, and then if I can broadcast on Friday, I will, and we'll catch up for the weekend. All right. So I hope all of the rest of you had a better transition between solar eclipse and Neptune moving into Aries. My sister was a Sagittarius, and her birthday was December 14th. And I never knew what time she was born, so I could never do a chart, and, oh my god, my sister would never tell me what time she was born. She would just say, "I don't know." And, while we were going through the paperwork, her will, and all of the stuff, that you do to gather up the information, Richard came across her birth certificate, and I found out what time she was born. And I immediately, on my laptop, putting in the birth time, and I'll be darned if she and I don't have the same moon at 8 degrees of Virgo. Both of us. Like, I'm 8 degrees 13 minutes, she's 8 degrees 41 minutes. I mean, our moons are right on top of one another. And I thought how fitting it was because um, I learned a lot from that particular sister about how to run a household, about how to deal with the details of things. So it was pretty funny to find that out. But at any rate, the timing of Neptune moving into the sign of Aries w- was extraordinary, and the solar eclipse at 9 degrees of Aries, extraordinary, right? These things Aries, this whole new doorway and gateway of things, of timing. So it was perfect timing. She's no longer in pain, and life goes on, right? Life goes on. So, today's broadcast, we're going to talk about how to navigate the powerful energies of this particular week with clarity and with courage and the opportunity to break through old patterns because there's something interesting going on in the astrology as we roll forward into this new age with Neptune and Aries and having come through these gateways that represent, the changing of the guard, if you will, with the lunar eclipse followed by the solar eclipse and with both Mercury and Venus this day, today, Mercury and Saturday, Venus, moving out of retrograde and into direct motion. It's like things are starting to move ahead. And the pace will, of course, pick up throughout the week, but it's where healing intersects with clarity of or creativity. It's kind of where we're called to finish what we started and to do that with grace and with persistence. So we have a very dynamic week ahead of us with some potent astrological transits, but also the human design influences of the week being of two kinds, right? We're in one now and another one as we get midweek. And then that contributes to this energy of transformation that we're all feeling. So let's start with the Human Design Week. First, let me say good morning to everybody because I haven't seen you all, it seems like, in forever. Good morning to Julie. It's good to have you with us. Kamal, hello to you. Good morning, Catherine. And Kamal says, Janet, is there any good news coming from the stars? Earth is full of chaos at the moment, from business to fitness. Nothing works. May everyone be happy soon. I'm going to bring that up in just a minute, okay? Kamal. So, Joan, good morning to you. Paulette, good morning. And thank you for your condolences, Christine and Julie. Asa, good morning to you. And JLo, hello. Narges, good morning. And Robin, good morning to you. And everybody else behind the scenes whom I'm not seeing, face on. It is good to have you with me this morning. So, Kamal, you brought up a good question. What is going on here with the chaos on the planet. And of course, we've, forecasted this many times, right? I've said repeatedly, I was always getting, nauseous having to repeat myself, it seemed like every week. Transition, transformation, change, chaos, right? The crazy times that we are in. And I have just been listening before I started the show this morning to one of my favorite astrologers who talks about the big pictures and the big cycles. And he was talking to an Indian astrologer who talks about the Kali Yuga. And the ending of the Kali Yuga was on March 25th of 2025, according to the way he counts the cycle. Some of the older translations, count the cycle as far too long, and he has some pretty credible research and evidence that we have come to the end of the Kali Yuga. But the yugas are kind of set up in a way that has a sort of ascending um, moment of their energy, the timing of the energy, and then a descending out of that age or that yuga. And of course, if the yuga just ended as this particular person believes on March 25th, 2025, we've just gone into the descending yuga or part of the Kali Yuga, which takes us into the golden age. Now, there's something weird about this though, because it's like in astrology. I tell you guys this all the time, where we have the time before the transit, then we have the transit, and then we have the passing of the transit. Well, the yugas do the same, right? They have the beginning, which he was calling the ascending, and the descending, or descending and then ascending, and we're ascending out of the Kali Yuga, but it's 150 years. So, Kamal, and all of those who are listening to me today, um, do I believe that because the Kali Yuga ended March 25th, 2025, that we're done with the age of iron, they call it, the age of madness, where technology and greed and materialism overtook the human consciousness? No, we're not done with that, right? We have this period of time. But what we should begin to notice is the movement away from some of those very ugly traits that we have held for a lot of time, a lot of years. And some of those things like materialism and greed having, kind of crescendoed at this point. And we're in a time when those things will pass out of our existence. But it takes time, right? It takes time, and it takes, you know, consciousness on our part to move us through that. And yet we will. There have been other great ages, as we move into, and I'm certainly not an expert in this, but there are some very good books written. This is a really good text that this gentleman has written, and I intend on getting that and reading it. I just don't have the headspace for it at this point in time. But in that case, then we have something to celebrate, right? We have something to say, we've come through fire, or we've come through hell, right? And now we're, moving through the last vestiges of that and choosing something new, choosing a golden age, if you will, right? Choosing caring for one another, choosing tolerance and acceptance, choosing a path forward where everybody's voices count, where everybody is heard, but it takes time to get there. And as we see very clearly now, some of that is under attack, right? Are being able to live in a free democracy and so forth and so on. So, um, yeah, we're getting there, but we're just not there yet. Now, I'm going to share my screen for a minute in presentation mode because I want to show you the human design for here we go for this week. We're going to start here because right now we're sitting at the sun in the gate of shock, the gate 51, right here on the ego or will center or heart center, whatever one you call it. And with the sun there, this is a theme of shock, and then the Earth is over here at the gate 57, and this is the gate of intuition. This is the most psychic and intuitive gate in the whole of the human design, and the gate 51 is the most shocking. It is shock that is designed for our awakening. It is not designed to hurt us, harm us, or make us have, bad experiences. The experiences are designed to wake us up, right? So we have awakening through the challenge of life in general or some situation in our lives and through inner clarity. So the sun in the 51 and earth in the 57 is from April 5th until April 9th. So we are in a week where midweek we're shifting out of this energy, and by the time I'm telling you this today, we've already been in this. And the awakening here happens through disruption quite frequently, causing us to need to rise to the occasion with courage. It is a gate of initiation, and it's interesting because I've marked the 25 in a different color here, but it is being defined right now by Neptune, right? Neptune at the gate 25 makes this whole channel of awakening defined for everybody, right? Not just, for this week, but for quite the, I mean, for this week, definitely, but not just if you have one side or the other, but everyone has this shot at initiation into an awakening. And it's characterized by challenges. I mean, this is challenge that pushes us to grow and pushes us to transform. And there's often a need for some courageous action here that breaks through limitations. And the shadow experience, of course, here is about creating chaos or reacting to the things that are happening around you with fear, right? Fear. So the opportunity here is for us to let go of the fear in favor of being able to move through everything more positively. And as we start to make this move, there are going to be likely many things that trigger us, right? I can't believe for even one moment it's just going to be a one and done kind of thing. As you can see, almost every day of the week there's something going on, whether it's politically or climatologically, or just in your own personal life that is triggering some kind of fear. And it's what we do with that when we're challenged that counts. It's not the thing that happens, it's the how we respond to that thing that happens. And I don't know if I've told you guys this before, but my and sister, brother-in-law and sister, the one that just passed away, they're diehard Republicans. And, a steady dose of Fox News every day, right? Every day, including after my sister died, right? He is on 24/7 watching this news. And he and I got into it one morning. Oh, bad. Really, I had shut my mouth. I had zipped my lip. I had kept myself quiet in the face of all these things that he was saying. And he's finally said something, and I just couldn't take it any longer. And so I reacted badly, I might say, because I told him he was on a steady diet of Fox News. So, of course, he wasn't getting the whole picture. And he responded back. And in the moment, I had a choice, and the choice was to carry on the conversation and keep on with the chaos or to let it go. Well, at some point, I got so angry. Have you ever gotten so angry and upset that you can't speak anymore? Well, I had gotten to that point. I was so angry with his closed-minded, narrow-minded viewpoint that I couldn't speak. And I got up and I left the room and I told Terry, "We're leaving." So I started to pack my things. I think this was like on Tuesday or Wednesday after she died. Packed up my things, and I'm walking out to the car to put them away, and he chases me out the door. He goes, "Hey, wait, where are you going?" I said, "I'm going home." And there was a moment there of absolute forgiveness where he and I just hugged, and he said, "I thought we were just having a conversation." He said, "We always talk like this." And I'm like, "Mhm. We do, but you never listen to my side of the coin. You're always, so stuck on your side." And he said, "I'm sorry," and I couldn't leave, so I stayed. But that's the moment I think that we are all coming to. It's not gonna be just like what I just described, but this moment where we have a choice to rise through the initiation that's being brought to us through the shock, and the moment where we decide for forgiveness or acceptance or for awakening, which is the true nature of this energy. So awakening. And the real lesson here is about embracing disruption as a catalyst for growth. That we grow when we're challenged. If everything were always just, easy to and breezy, we probably wouldn't grow very much. But we face the challenges as a catalyst for growth. But sometimes the energy of chaos can cause us to shut down and or start to go into fear around all of these things, and we withdraw. Right, I started to withdraw. I was going to come home. I was going to say, you stay here and you deal with all of this. In the gift expression, the highest expression of this whole energy is the courage to leap into the unknown and to inspire others through your boldness and through your breakthroughs and through the things that you move through that are difficult, right? Now, the earth, of course, is always the grounding point, and the earth is sitting at the gate 57 over here on the spleen center. And as we talked about the week before I left, this is the mirror image, if you will, to the late September, October, and early November when the sun is moving through the gates of the spleen, triggering our fears, bringing up all that shadow energy. And this time it's the earth. And the earth is the grounding piece, right? It's the planet that helps us, well, because we live on it for one thing, but it's the planet that helps us ground in energies of thriving. It's energies of survival, but I think it's more than just survival. I think this is where we can really thrive. And this is about instinctual clarity in the present moment. The spleen rules the now. It doesn't have any idea of the future. It doesn't really operate in the past. It operates in this present moment. And the theme here then is to stay in this moment and to trust your inner knowing and not have to have the proof that this is how it's going to be or this is where things are taking us. Just proof of being in the now. Trusting, I mean, being in the now. And the shadow expression of the earth at the gate 57 can be one of anxiety, indecision, and ignoring our intuition, right? It's like we've gotten so caught up in the mind, which is very far away from the spleen. The mind is up here. There's not much going on up here right now, right? But here, intuition, right? Our gut instinct. And this is calm clarity. This is subtle sensitivity and graceful responsiveness. So we have a lot of beautiful energy sitting here in the gate 57 that can help us with the shock of awakening or with the realignment energies in quantum human design. This gate is called realignment. And in a way, I almost like that word better. It's even though it's a little gentler word, that's the purpose of the gate is to help us realign over here to spirit, right? With the gate 25, where Neptune is now sitting. So Neptune, the planet of spirituality, in a gate called spirit that is being awakened for us this week through the sun and for a longer period of time with the planet Neptune. So one last thing too about before I go on to some astrology is this gate right here, the 45, is called the gate of distribution. In traditional human design, it was called the gate of the king or the queen. And it's really, it's a part of a channel, this channel 45 to 21, that is called the money line. It has a lot to do with distribution of resources and how and what we spend our money on, or our time, or our human energy on. So the gate 45 is really an open invitation that is about amplifying the theme of leadership and influence and shared abundance. This is the planet Jupiter, so it's amplifying this energy, making it bigger, right? And Jupiter here really asks us about how are we using our voice? It's on the throat center, and our resources to support the collective. Are we, elevating people using our voices, using our resources? And it is also a gate that is about leadership, leadership through the voice. True leadership is generous, it is not self-serving. And I think we see a big dose right now of self-serving leadership around the world. And, given the conversation we just had about the Kali Yuga ending, and we're moving into the last 150 years of transition to the golden age, it seems to me that we are also being signaled about changing how it is that we deal with resources, how we use our voices, and how we use our uh, leadership energy. So, this week's energy, or the energy from the 5th through the 9th, is a wake up call. And the sun in 51 can shake many things loose, right? Shaking up our minds, shaking up our hearts, and shaking up our world. But it's all in service to soul level activation, activating us from our deeper soul perspective. And we're being asked to ground ourselves into the 57's intuitive calm and to listen to our inner voice before reacting. I failed that one. I almost failed that one. Oh, with Jupiter entering the gate 45, we're being asked to step into a new form of leadership and a new way to share power and distribute our values, our things of value, money, possessions, energies, uh, in a way that involves, sharing with everyone. And let your instincts guide you this week. And that is the key, right? We all have those that intuition. We have access to that, and lead from an inner alignment instead of what the outer world seems to uh, kind of tell you that you need to lead through. It's an interesting week. And I'm going to come back to this in just a minute, but I want to go over here and see how everybody is doing. Questions. Good morning, Jolie. Good morning, Teddy. Good morning, Pam. Terry. Good morning, Chester's mom. Good morning, Tamara. Good morning. And harmonize. I like that. Good morning. And Christine Buckingham, 150 more years of this. Yeah, as we transition. So what we can expect is, at the beginning, we would have been starting that whole mechanical, machine-oriented, me first kind of energy. Then we moved into the Kali Yuga proper, and it was there and building and growing. But now it's in its waning phase, right? So what we'll be seeing is not the same intensity, but possibly, right? Because we're just at the cusp of this, moving out of that energy. And as a transit in astrology wanes, its power wanes as well. And we begin to see the seeds that have been planted for the new age popping up, right? Popping up through the soil. So it's not as bad as it sounds, but these things, we're not talking about quick time, right? We're talking about cycles that are, this is a part of uh, the ages, right? The ages of time, and they move slowly, right? They move slowly, and because we're humans and we live maybe 70 to 100 years, which is just a blink of an eye in the scale of the time periods that we're talking about. So for us, it feels so much more intense, let's say, if we're in a bad time, um, because we're in it for a comparatively for a bigger chunk of our lives than what the whole cycle represents. So, but it's exciting as well because we're the ones now that are literally creating what comes next. We are the ones sowing the seeds for our children's children, our grandchildren, etc. So it's difficult, yes, because in the meantime, we see a lot of BS happening, right? We're witnessing um, so much change, and it's hard to keep up with it. But it's all in the service of the new age that will be coming. And of course, I will find out more about the Kali Yuga. It's not something I've studied extensively, but it's kind of fascinating as it kind of aligns with the cycles of astrology, the cycles in human design, etc. So we'll talk more. So more. All right. Now I want to back up for a minute and go back to yesterday. Because I wasn't here on Friday, I didn't get to tell you all about Sunday's aspects. And it was a pretty powerful day as the sun in Aries was in a sextile to Jupiter in Gemini. And sextiles are 60-degree relationships between the planets. That means their energy is pretty much harmonizing, right? Harmonizing and easily working with one another. And at the same time, yesterday, Venus in retrograde, still in Pisces now, was in a trine to Mars in Cancer. So Mars still has not gone past that point where he's back into Leo. So it was kind of a high vibe day, a soul nourishing day, even if you will. The Sun Jupiter sextile gave us a boost in confidence and clarity, and maybe even a sense of purpose, knowing where it is we're going and how it is that we're going to get there. It's also a playful and curious kind of energy where it was great for putting ourselves out there in the sharing our ideas and, talking with others and maybe even tapping into the building momentum that you're feeling as energy begins to push us forward right into the next steps. But at the same time, with Venus retrograde in Pisces and reaching out to Mars in Cancer through a trine, a trine is a 120-degree angle. And that is, where the 60-degree angle, the sextile is harmonizing. The trine is an ease and flow of the energies between the planets. Now, if you have good energy planted, then we see this easy growth, or we'll see easy movement towards something new. But a trine can also exaggerate the negative, right? We don't talk about this very often in astrology because we always want to say the trine is a beneficial transit or a beneficial aspect, which it is most often, but it can also exaggerate and exacerbate the energies that are present in that moment. So if you have a negative thing happening, then it can also exaggerate that, right? Or make it flow much easier than the typical energy. So there is the potential here for this emotional sweetness, and it sort of gives us a reflective twist, right, with Venus in retrograde. And that's working in our relationships, and it's working in our home and family, and it's working in our values and what we value and how we value ourselves and other things. So it was a time maybe to reconnect with someone from your past, maybe revisit an old creative project, or simply feel more in tune with your heart's true desires, your true self inside, right? That true self. So the energy of the day yesterday was both expressive and introspective. Expressive because Mars is moving forward now in Cancer, but also Venus in retrograde still in Pisces. So water energy. It was bold and tender energy. It was a great day. And we're still in it, right? We're still waning through this energy now. So saying yes to an opportunity that feels good, that feels aligned with your heart's desires, to reflect on love, to reflect on creativity, to communicate with passion, but also compassion. It was a compassionate kind of day. So the theme for yesterday, carrying us into today, was about when heart and purpose align, magic flows. And that's like I said, carrying us into the day today. And today, Monday, is a day where Venus retrograde conjuncts Saturn in Pisces, and a day where Mercury turns direct. We move out of that inner mind stuff of Mercury. And of course, we've already talked about this Jupiter entering into the gate 45 in your human design. So today is a day that maybe is a little more serious perhaps than yesterday was. Maybe a day for serious soul talk where Venus and Saturn coming into a conjunction in Pisces invite us into a deep review of our values, especially around love and money and creativity. But it also asks what truly matters to you now? What is really the most important thing? And what are you willing to commit to along those lines? Which would also imply letting go of what does no longer serve you, right? Or does not any longer align with your values. So a lot of shuffling, if you will, and shifting of energy, perhaps mind energy, heart energy, and soul energy. And with Mercury stationing direct, also in Pisces, a sign of spirituality, a sign of bringing things into closure, a sign of universal love, of unity, of oneness. Um, Maybe your voice starts to return, right? Mercury in retrograde might have, clamped that down. Or caused us to be more introspective, right? And now Mercury changing direction, clarity might still be a little bit blurry, but the tide is turning, right? We're getting clearer about our voices, about what we want to do, about who we want to be, about what might have felt confusing or delayed over the past few weeks now begins to really find some forward movement, some, purchase in moving forward. And of course, human design gate 45. This is the gate of leadership through generosity. So it asks, how are you using your influence or abundance to uplift others? So this is a great day today to reflect on what you're truly committed to in your relationships and in building in your life and creative work, but also using how do you want to use your voice? And maybe it's time to start expressing those ideas or decisions that have been on hold. We still have some time for Mercury to get out of the shadow as he goes back over the territory he's been in. But, things are starting to move in that direction. So maybe it's a time to realign your goals with a sense of shared purpose and with contribution. How do I want to contribute to the world? So today's theme is about leading with love, speaking with clarity, and building Saturn conjunct Venus. What lasts, right? What is it that can take you into the future? What lasts? All right. Good morning, Colleen. Sharon K, good morning. Chester's mom, I know some things I would love to let go of, and most of it is located in the house. that that's that's a thing, right? That is a thing because right now, in this world of materialism, um, gathered a lot of stuff, right? We've gathered tons of stuff, right? Just in my own house, which is a one-bedroom house. I have a ton of stuff. And I'm sure, lots of people do. And, having just come through my sister's death and anticipating, you know, all of the things, right, that defined her life, and my brother-in-law's insistence of not letting go of anything, and all of that. It's right up in our faces, right? This idea of materialism and how things have supported us. And is it true? Is it true that we need all of these things in order to go on, or is there a way to simplify? And, Uranus has been in Taurus for, well, since 2018. And Taurus is a sign of simplification, simplifying our lives, breaking it down to its simplest, comfortable terms. So I think, right now it is one of those questions like, do I need all this stuff? And then what do I do with it if I don't need it? Right? Because there's that also. So interesting time. Gayla, good morning. And Christine says, ditto, we don't want this version. We don't want his version of the golden age. We want our version of the golden age, which is why we need to focus on what it is we desire and build what it is we desire rather than letting somebody else outside of us dictate to us what that is going to look like, right? We have voices, so we stand up and we do what it is that makes sense for us. And Karen, oh my God, what a time to tune in. All the things. All the things. Interestingly enough, too, with the Earth moving through the spleen all the way through the first week of May, um, it is a time for us to look at, what can we let go of? Because the spleen is often a center in our human design where we hold on too long, right? We just grab on and we hold. We hold on to old grievances. We hold on to unforgiveness. We hold on to relationships or jobs that no longer suit us. We hold on to things, right? Beliefs, philosophies. So it's a great time for us to reevaluate, if you will, um, what it is that we're holding on to and what is it that we can let go of. What does not serve us moving into a golden age? Because we're setting the template. So if we're setting the template, what goes with us and what stays is up to you, right? And me, each of us individually. All right. So let's look at tomorrow's energy. Venus tomorrow in retrograde still in Pisces will come into a sextile, a harmonizing relationship with Uranus in Taurus. Now, this is a softer kind of day. Venus really has the softening effect here on the planet Uranus, and Venus is also retrograde, so there's a more introspective piece here, but it's also electric. Uranus rules electricity and shock and surprises and excitedness and all of that. But Venus retrograde in dreamy Pisces is meeting up with Uranus in earthy Taurus. So it creates space for emotional breakthroughs, surprise connections, perhaps with others, and fresh insight into those old patterns that have held you back or have held you down or have held you to an old. Especially an old pattern that's time has come to be released. And that could be especially around your relationships, money, or creativity, right? How do I put myself out there in the world? And maybe tomorrow you see something from a new angle, one that you haven't seen before. Maybe you receive an unexpected message that helps lead you in the right direction, or feel somewhat of a shift going on in your heart that allows you to move through. The energy tomorrow is definitely intuitive, it's inspired and inspiring, and it is also gently liberating. Uranus, always with an eye to liberation. So, tomorrow might be a great day to let go of outdated love or money beliefs, playing it small, right? Or not getting the love that you deserve. Maybe it's a great day tomorrow to follow a creative spark, and maybe it's one that feels like out of the ordinary, it's elevated, and you're really excited to follow it. Maybe open up to more freedom in your relationships or in how you express affection and love to those around you. So, the theme of the day tomorrow is really about healing coming through, opening new eyes, and opening your heart, right? Seeing things differently and opening your heart to what more is possible. I love the what more is possible part. All right. Now, that brings us then to the new Human Design Week, which begins on the 10th and is through the 15th. So, like I said, we've got the split in the week where we're working two forms of human design energy. So, I'm going to go back to my presentation screen here for a moment. And there you are. Okay. So, on April 10th, the sun will move into the gate 42 down here on the sacral, leading down toward the root center. And the earth will be in the gate 32 over here on the spleen. So we're still in a gate that can double as a fear gate, right? Being fear or paralysis. And the theme here is what I find fascinating because the 42, this one here on the sacral, is called the gate of celebration. In traditional human design, it was the ending of something, right? Bringing something to a close. So let's say you've been working on a project and you've done all the steps, right? From the beginning, planning stages to the, initiation to the building of it to now the completion and the celebration that comes at the end when you're done with something. So the sun is at the theme of, or is at the gate whose theme is about completion, completing cycles with joy, right? With excitement. And then the lesson of the gate 42 with the sun here is going to be about letting go with grace, honoring what has come full scale, what has come, completely around the circle. In the shadow, though, we have this energy of hanging on too long, a fear of ending, of stagnation. So this gate really is about taking things to their end point, to the exclamation point or period at the end of the sentence. In the gift, this is the energy of embracing closure, of joyful release, and of trusting in life's rhythms and cycles, that all things must pass and all things must return to the new. The gate 32 on the spleen center has the fear of failure. This is called the gate of endurance, and it's about preserving and preservation through long-term growth, let's say, or through long-term working with something. It's the energy, it's very Saturnian, I feel like, that, you course until you complete the project. So this is kind of why endurance is linked with completions or linked with endings. And yet there's a lesson here because we have to trust what's worth sustaining versus what must evolve, which means change, right? Or transform. In the shadow, of course, we've got this fear of failure and we cling to outdated things, outdated forms, outdated relationships, outdated beliefs, and we have resistance to change in the gate 32. In the gift expression, this is mastery over intuitive timing and making steady progress, wisdom in what to carry forward and what not to carry forward. What do we take with us on the journey? What do we release in the journey? So, as we get to the midweek, it becomes the highlighting of the dance between completion and continuity. What do we bring to closure? And what do we keep moving forward with? The sun in the gate 42 invites you to celebrate what's ending, not as a loss, but as a sacred part of your evolution. And meanwhile, the gate 32 reminds you to preserve what still holds value and meaning and trust the timing of what endures. And it's a week to honor then our lives' natural cycles and finish what's ready to be released and commit to what's still growing. Endings creating a new space for the beginning, right? We have to have one before the other. And we celebrate both ends of that spectrum. All right. Um, so again, spleen center activated and the sacral. And again, just for your own information, take a look at your own astrology and human design chart when we're having these conversations. If your own human design, in my own human design chart, I do not have gate 32 or 42 defined. So suddenly this week, I have 32 and 42 that are going to be hanging there. And experiencing an ending, right? My sister is going to be buried on Saturday, a fit day for an ending, right? Bringing it all to closure. And in your own chart, you might have this gate already defined or this gate already defined. And now we're adding to that energy. So let's say you have Saturn at gate 32. Now you're adding the Earth's energy at gate 32. And some of you might have this as part of a channel. Maybe you have the gate 54 defined. And if you do, with the sun or with the earth moving to the gate 32 on the 10th, you now have this whole channel of success that is being, or drive and ambition that's being defined. So it speaks to how these energies, even though, they have these very defined names and energies associated with them, how they can play out differently for us all based on where it is or how it is that our own astrology or our own human design is activated. So, boom, you got that. Now, let's go to Saturday, Saturday, April 12th, full moon in Libra. Wow, I hadn't even realized that in terms of my sister's funeral. The full moon is in Libra, a setting of peace and balance and harmony, equilibrium, right? Having everything in balance. Venus turns direct that day in Pisces. The sun is conjunct Chiron and Eris in Aries at the full moon, and in opposition then to the moon, because a full moon is the sun and the moon in opposition. Saturn is going to sextile Uranus that day and conjunct Venus. Semi-sextile is a half of a sextile, a 30-degree designation between Sun, Chiron, Eris in conjunction to Saturn in Pisces and Uranus in Taurus. It's such an interesting full moon that we come into. Now, the full moon, of course, invites us to rebalance our lives through completion, maybe through letting go, through some kind of revelation or aha moment, and especially through the tension between your inner truth and your relationships. So, Libra wants peace. Aries wants authenticity. And with both energies highly activated during this moon time, especially because of Chiron conjunct the sun and, well, the sun. So we have the sun in the middle, we have Chiron on one side, Eris on the other. So they're all three in a line. The old wounds and hidden angers can rise to the surface, not to create chaos, however, but for us to set something radically honest free, right? Something coming up within us. And meanwhile, while Venus is stationing direct, it signals an emotional turning point in love and money and self worth and values. So maybe what we've been reflecting on in our hearts over these last several weeks can now begin to shine outward from us. And maybe that comes with more compassion and clarity. But in the background, we still have Saturn in that sextile to Uranus, and that does offer some stability in change, and also some flexibility, but it also forms this subtle bridge, if you will, to the Sun Chiron Eris trio. And that suggests lasting healing comes from staying grounded while being open to surprise. I'm going to show you on the chart here, maybe. Oh, I did bring that chart up. Hold on. I'm going to present that chart. One second here. Mm, hmm, hmm. Maybe it's a window, maybe it's an entire screen, maybe it's a Chrome tab. Oh, boo. Hold on. I got to open it probably. Oh, I closed it. Sorry, guys. I can't show it to you. So I'll show it to you this way. So here is my pens are all out of order. Here we go. All right. So what we'll have is the sun. You can see it now. Right? Here we have in the sign of Aries, the sun, which is the top, and then we have Chiron, and then we have Eris. But as the sun keeps moving forward on the day of the full moon, he sits between Chiron and Eris. So we have this trio of planets, and then the moon will be over here at the other side at 25 degrees of Libra. So, boom, over there. So we'll have this opposition with these very powerful, with this very powerful trio. And we know that Eris is about discord, and we know Chiron is about healing. So it would be a great full moon for us to release old relationship wounds or self doubt, to recommit to relationships with that honor your truth, right? That everybody's seen and valued and heard in the relationship. Maybe it's time to begin a new chapter in your work or in your love life or your relationships. Maybe speaking truthfully, even if your voice shakes, right? Even if you're nervous about saying what needs to be said. That full moon's theme is about honest hearts heal, and that truth sets love free, right? It's a very powerful full moon. And as we move through that full moon window, of course, a lot of the lights turn on, right? A lot of things start to show up in your reality that perhaps you weren't aware of before, and allowing you the time to release. And what a fitting, I guess, aspect pattern to have in a week following Neptune's move into Aries. And this is my first chance to actually look at an astrology chart with there's Neptune right there at 0 degrees of Aries. Sometimes the graphic is more graphic than the idea of it, right? So now you can see that very powerful planet of spirituality in a place of new beginnings. All right. So, questions, everybody. What do you got for me? And uh, JLo says the moon just entered gate 4, right? The moon today in Leo, a Leo gate 4. And the gate 4 is interesting because it's a gate of possibilities. You know, the gate 4 in traditional human design was all about having the answers, like all of the answers. Whether they were the right answers or not didn't matter. It was the gate that had the answers. But as we look at it through quantum human design, we see that the answers all come through possibilities. So the curiosity of the gate 63 at the other side, right? The doubt in the negative, maybe, but the curiosity of the gate 63 finding its outlet through today, the moon, in the gate 4 of possibility. What more is possible, right? If I look at things through the light of possibility, it is definitely much better than looking at the possible, or I mean, the only answer could be this, right? So possibilities, what more is possible? Is it possible that we can move through this ending of the Kali Yuga quicker than we think? That we could, if we came together as one voice in decidedly being clear about what it is we want for the future, could we create that faster? It's all possible, right? Could we change the world in the vision in which we would like to see it faster than in 150 years? Where there's the will, there's the way, right? So I think it's absolutely possible. Okay, so I didn't think about doing a reading earlier, but now I am thinking I want to do Intuitive Whispers Oracle by Maud Hurst. Let's see what we get for this week ahead. So I said this at the beginning of the broadcast. I am not sure if I will be here on Friday or not. I think we're not leaving until 10 or so in the morning Pacific time. So I think I will be able to be on, but I'll let you know for certain as the week wears on. For those of you who, I typically will post updates and things like that on Facebook. And here's our card. Let your ship set sail. Let your ship set sail. Card number 43, which is a 7, which is a highly spiritual number. And the magic of going on a journey. And it says, just like a ship needs a solid frame and someone to steer it to set sail, it also needs the ocean and the wind, which are wild and free and out of its control. Sometimes we spend so long building our foundations, in parentheses, our ship, making sure we have all of the tools to navigate through the world, that when it comes to setting sail, we do not unleash our sails for fear of the unknown or fear of losing control. This is your call to open your sails and let the wind take you. Release control and let yourself explore the limitless unknown. The unknown simply being the space that exists outside of your known experience. It can be liberating. So, how to let your ship sail? Point yourself in a nourishing direction, somewhere you have been wanting to explore, and let the layers of control release their grip. Your ship will gather speed the more you let go. The energy of water, which a ship sails through, is in constant motion. Become more like the water and let things flow. If you're feeling stuck in an area of your life, moving your body will release your stuck energy and help you set sail. I think that is a perfect card for where we find ourselves right now in time. All right. Well, it's been really good to be with you guys this morning. I will let you know later in the week if I will be here Friday or not. In the meantime, take care of yourself. Let yourself be free. See you later.